Welcome back to the channel, folks, and to another battle report. Now this is a short format report as we recorded it on a school night, as we say, so it's just going to be summarising each round turn by turn. Now I'm playing Brian. We're playing mid-war, 95 points, using the dynamic points from 2025, the confirmed 2025 dynamic points. And if I've not mentioned it before, and if you didn't see it in the intro, we're playing 95 points because that is the rating that we're going to be using for Operation Saltire 2, which is the Flames of War Scottish Nationals on the 17th and 18th of May. If you've not already thought about it and you'd like to come along, well, you'd be more than welcome. We've got a lot of travelling players coming already. The ticket sales so far are above what we were expecting at this rate, and it's looking like it's going to be a good event, bigger than last year's. So hopefully we'll see some more of yous there. It'd be great to see more of the channel supporters to come along, maybe get a game against me, Brian, or some of the other players that you see on the channel, or maybe even against someone you've never met before. It turns out to be a great game. Now let's go over and have a look at the list, at the mission, take it from there and get stuck into the game. Right, Brian, what are you bringing today?
So I'm resurrecting the Iron Cross unit that you might have seen in one of the previous battle reports. This is trying against a large Russian list coming towards me. So again, I've got my HQ, which is up the front here, and in total I've got 3 Panzer Grenadier platoons, 2 full strength, 1 half strength. So I've got a full strength platoon at the front, half strength at the back, and 1 off on reserve. I've got an SMG team, mortar team, and an SMG team supporting that forward objective as well. And that's my core. So HQ, 3 Grenadier platoons, SMG and mortars. I've then got 2 88s, good line of fire. I've got 3 Martyrs off in ambush, and I've got 4 Panzer IVs with long barrels off on immediate deep reserves as well.
So it's a platoon infantry and a platoon of Panzer IVs
to come on hopefully quite quickly.
And you've got 88s and Marders on the table to have a go at these. They won't stand much of a chance of saving against that kind of anti-tank fire, and they're hit on 2s as a starting point. So there could be quite a lot of dead T34s before the Panzer IVs arrive.
Here's hoping.
Here's my Soviet formation for today, based on the 2025 mid-war dynamic points, and it's the T34 formation, the T34 Tankovy. So, kind of speaks for itself. You can see the units nice and clearly laid out here. We've got a HQ of 1 T34 and 2 platoons of 9. Then, still part of the formation, a submachine gun company of 15 bases in the Commissar, and still part of the formation, 3 80mm mortars, and then in support we've got 4 122mm. So what can I say about the formation? Well, first of all, it looks like quite a lot, especially a lot of tanks, especially for mid-war, but these guys are hit on a 2, and that can really hurt. They've got good frontal armour for mid-war, good side armour as well, I suppose, 6 in the front, 5 in the side. But if they come up against anything with decent anti-tank that they're going to struggle to make their save against, well, they're going to take a lot of hits. And even against the weaker anti-tank, they take a lot of hits, so they have to roll a lot of saves, which means there's much more chance of them, getting those fails, getting those 1s or 2s that will result in them being destroyed. So there's a lot there, but they will get blown up pretty quick. Now the infantry, the submachine gun unit, that's a big chunky unit of infantry. They're hitting 3s, but they've got a 4-up save, which means they're going to die pretty quick too. And you certainly can't hang about under artillery templates with them, for instance. So imagine re-rolling successful saves needing 4-up. Chances are they're going to be goners. So once again, tricky to use. The 122mm artillery, that's really good because it's only 6 points. They are green, however, which means, they're going to range in most cases, there's going to be terrain, so they're going to range in on 6s. However, It's handy to have another unit of artillery, especially a hard-hitting unit of artillery. It can be useful in digging out infantry, probably more importantly destroying anti-tank guns and maybe even some tanks, because they've got an anti-tank rating of 3 in bombardment against top armour 1. Now, the infantry hit on 3 in assaults, the tanks are green, so they hit on 5 in assaults. So, a tricky formation to use. There's lots of them against the right opponent, certainly with the right terrain. Remember, these guys are really, really mobile. Then it is possible to get some things done with it. But against good solid Germans with lots of anti-tank 12 and 14 and so on, I'm probably going to need quite a lot of smoke. Today's mission is good old no retreat, a very simple and straightforward mission in terms of deployment zones and special rules. As you can see, the defender has got one half of the table to defend, it's their choice. The attacker coming in from the other side. Defender has got ambush and deep immediate reserves. The defender also has minefields, which could be very handy in blocking off perhaps the most forward place objective, or to perhaps block important avenues of approach for vehicles, forcing them into cross checks and such likes. These games can be quite hard to predict, depends on the matchup, depends on terrain and perhaps on reserves when they arrive. But overall it's a good test of attacking and defending lists. Right folks, we've deployed. We've gone through the mission already. Brian, you chose this end of the table here to defend, and why did you choose this end and not the other end?
I think purely because I've got a couple of hills here, and if I go into the other end, I think there's too much blocking line of sight, certainly from my big guns. So up here, sitting on the hill, I can see quite a lot of the battlefield and potential up here as well, moving forward. Although there is a nasty pre-ranged in marker here stopping me doing that at the moment.
That's only the mortars though.
So I decided to put my objective quite far back as I could, to try and hold this with a smaller platoon, and obviously you put one quite far forward. So this is where I think a lot of the action is going to take place, but I can deploy almost up to halfway with the smaller deployment zone for the objectives in the middle here. So I'm basically trying to deploy in front of the objective in case you push me back, keep hold of it, use these guns to protect this objective and everything coming down here, and hopefully spring a nasty ambush with my marauders when you come into range. But it's all about holding on to, I think, to that front objectives where it's all going to happen.
And currently there's my 122s are ranged in here, that's why there's a bit of
a gap, so I've deployed around that, yeah.
So I have deployed, starting with my artillery, the mortars, and putting them right up to the front of the deployment zone, gives them a longer reach, makes them more vulnerable to counter battery fire, but gives them a longer reach. And then I've got my 122s, they can afford to sit further back, and from where they are they can look straight up that way or over that way. My infantry in the middle. First of all, it gets quite hard to push everything up through one area here. As you can see, I've got platoon of tanks, HQ, platoon of tanks. I could stick the infantry in there as well, but I'm going to keep my options open for my infantry. And I'll not say anything too much just now, but I do have an actual plan for my tanks to see how they can tackle this objective. And you notice that Brian has put minefields on the hill here, left a little bit open, nowhere around the edge here. That should be just right like that. And this reduces my options for going hull down.
And I've also put a pre-ranging marker here as well to fill sort of
for the mortars here.
That hill.
Don't imagine that will go chasing after my poor guys.
Yeah.
Now remember, hit on a 2, hit on a 3, but saving a 4. So this is going to be a game where the Soviets are likely to suffer a lot of casualties, and we'll see if they can take that objective. I think that's where I'm headed.
Yeah, I think so.
Turn 1. Soviet turn 1. So, first of all, in terms of movement, I have got this platoon here. They're kind of blocked by this. I don't intend to go through the minefields because I need a 5. This was on a suicide mission. But they're now in a position to fire down here. Second platoon over here with line of sight on the infantry platoon, and then my infantry have moved up with a successful follow me. So in terms of shooting, MGs from all the T34s here, nothing really happened. These guys all managed to get a pin and actually got a kill with one of the MGs. And the artillery, the mortars and the 122s both ranged in here where there is no terrain to make it harder to range in, but they managed to get it first time anyway, both of them. It's only 3 bases under here because of I wanted to avoid terrain, but you know, if I can get rid of those heavy machine guns, it will help my infantry when they ultimately join the fight. So that's been a half decent start. I managed to get to where I wanted to go, but that's the easy bit, because next turn we'll see potentially an ambush and maybe even reserves.
So for my turn 1, I managed to unpin everything that had been underneath the artillery templates around here, and then I managed to pop an ambush. They did come up in the hill, they have scooted back, and I'll tell you in a moment why, but they came up in that hill and no reserves. So it was down to shooting. So I decided I wanted to try and get rid of one of the artillery templates. I've tried to arrange in on the mortars and completely failed, so damp squib from that. But I was a better shooting with my Marders that came in on the ambush. So they came up on hull down in the hill and managed to take out 4 of the tanks coming towards me. So first kill to those. And then I sort of panicked a little bit and thought there's loads coming towards me. So I lifted my gun to the ground and started shooting with my infantry as well. Managed to take out 4 bases, managed to take out the command, so he's moved across as well. So 4 tanks taken out, and
the commissar, that was the most
commissar as well, yeah, got taken out as well. So that was
the most
really
important one. And I couldn't do mistaking target with them, folks, because these guys were all firing at their maximum range, so I had to allocate a hit to him.
But the 88s are sitting there not doing anything at the moment because somebody's put a house in the way and a hill. So but I've got a few tanks off the table at the moment and a few infantry.
Turn 2. Soviet turn 2, so there was no motivations, so just movement. So first of all, this platoon here, it's not going to stand in front of those Marders, that would be suicidal. Tanks are very mobile, especially when they're T34s. They had a clear path through and dashed all the way over to there. The infantry are in, these guys are in this building, the church is quite full, and then there's 4 bases at the back. That was with a follow me too. And these tanks are moved behind the crest of the hill, but in a position to intervene. So I'm now swinging around over there, out of the range of the 88s. Still got a platoon here, and a platoon of infantry in the middle, who could go either way. So in terms of shooting, none of the tanks were firing, so that just left artillery. The mortars were already ranged in. They got 1 heavy machine gun and 1 infantry from that unit, and then the 122s at the back managed to range in. 3rd attempt, needing that 6, and I got 2 hits. I was like, oh, here we go, my tanks have run away for nothing. But Brian rolled a 3 and a 5, and only 1 ended up bailed out. But if they do try to use this hill, I'm here now to, well, I'll go hull down on the hill at least. I'm now there to hit them with artillery. So that's just a wee bit of manoeuvring from me just now, folks. I'm keeping my options open.
So this is German turn 2. So I managed to do all my pins so that they're all back by the bear. I managed to get my bailed in Marder back, and they've done a little movement to get out from that template. And I managed to get my reserve on, 1 reserve on. I decided to bring the tanks on, so I wanted the tanks on the table for when you come close to me, and they've pushed up here, so if there's infantry come in, there's at least machine gun cover on this objective. And then it was down to shooting. So I brought my artillery in on the building here, and I managed to kill 1 stand outside. But then I turned my 88s into the same unit as well, managed to kill 2 stands which were in this front building as well. So I've taken another 3 stands out here, but everything else at the moment is out of range. Whereas I've decided to keep going to the ground here, just in case those tanks come up on that hill and start shooting away at me there. But I have cleverly, hopefully, pulled my Marders far enough back that they're outside your threat range with your movement and shooting, but I can still shoot you back if you do come round the edge of that hill. So that's my movement and shooting over.
Turn 3. Soviet turn 3, so in terms of motivations, this infantry didn't unpin, which is bad. You don't want to be hanging around under a repeat bombardment with a 4-up save. So I pulled them back. In terms of the rest of the movement, it didn't start like this, folks. These came out around the hill. A couple of cross checks when needed to get some into the road to try and maximise assault. I even drove through the minefield. They needed 5s to get through. They both rolled a 1, but then I did good saves. One ended up just bailed out, and another one got through. And then I brought the other platoon back to support these guys now. So in terms of shooting, most of the shooting was the artillery, and they keep ranging in, folks, this rubbish artillery. The mortars are ranged in here and managed to kill one of the mortars. The 122 mils right at the back ranged in again. Didn't get any hits. It's on the second attempt and didn't get any hits, but they're going to have to move or potentially do a blitz, but they'd have to blitz back the way to avoid this. I reckon they'll still be in range, but the problem is if you keep backing off, this is going to get more and more exposed. Unfortunately, my infantry, if they hadn't unpinned, they could have got over as well and given me a bit more resilience. There'll be another platoon of infantry arriving soon, and the Panzer IVs will be arriving. And the 88s, I couldn't hide everybody with my consolidation move, and the 88s will be able to start shooting up some tanks. So Brian's under a bit of pressure here. 2 bases died in the assault, but he's still got 1, 2, 3 from that platoon, heavy machine gun, company HQ on that objective.
So this is for my starting step. I didn't manage to unpin this unit here, but managed to
No, they didn't unpin, they did.
Unpin, sorry, and they did the infantry platoon. They tried to dig in as well and failed to dig in as well, so they're out in the open, that unit. This unit failed to unpin as well, so that was a bit of a nightmare in trying to unpin. And I decided to risk not moving those guys. They just stayed where they were.
Well, you tried a blitz first.
Tried a blitz, failed the blitz, so they stayed where they were. So my last unit came on, and I've just ran to the top of that, on the back of that hill, because they're going to have to come across and support this objective. So that was my sort of starting step. In terms of movement, I just kept them still, so I wanted to try and get 6 shots off at the tanks coming my way. I've moved my Panzer IVs out to try and get shots up here as well, and then it's down to shooting. So between the Marders and the 88s, I think I've taken out 5 tanks.
Yeah.
1 in the front unit and 1 in the back unit.
No, there was all in the front.
The front unit, the guy in the hill as well, which meant I was losing some targets from this unit here, and they've not managed to take anything out themselves.
I actually made my saves from them.
But I've been good with the firepower to actually hit you and do the damage. So
you'll notice, folks, so far in the game, apart from a minefield, there's not been one single bailed out counter being put down on my tanks.
Yeah, they're all killing. So good round of shooting. I just hope that my gamble of staying put and getting 6 shots is going to pay off, because I'm now under a bombardment repeating. So hopefully my Marders still stay around for another round or 2, because they're doing really well.
Turn 4. Soviet turn 4, in terms of motivation, it'd be so nice to actually get the chance to bail somebody back in, guys. But the only motivation I had was on pinning, and the guys, they're a bit late to the party, but they're coming through now. So in terms of movement, it was just push on up. Those guys for an assault, those guys to shoot at Marders, and also try and keep themselves out of line of sight of all that nastiness over there. So in terms of shooting, well, first of all, my mortars managed to get another mortar over there. The 122's got 3 hits and 2 kills. They tried shooting, needing 7s because of the overworked, and one needed 6, the rest needed 7s because of concealment. They came in, tried some machine gunning, and then went into the assault. Machine gunning did nothing. Assault killed 1 from the HQ and 1 from the platoon. And then even with a reroll, Brian is again broken off. So I've consolidated into here, but I'm a sitting duck. Got those 88s going. I couldn't get these guys any closer up to just try and keep as many things within 4 inches as possible, because these guys are now going to come in. and no doubt mop up any survivors. There's a few last stands to be done, but they could come in and also mop up some of those survivors. So I'm just going to keep feeding the T34s into the meat grinder.
Okay, so for my German turn 4, my motivations didn't work out too good. I failed to unpin my HQ, but these two units did manage to unpin, and then I had a couple of last stands to do. My gamble didn't really pay off because the last stand, the last mortar, decided to run away, as did the mortars as well, but this unit stayed where it is, so that left me with a chance to do some shooting. So I decided to move just one of the Panzer IVs round because the rest already had targets, as did the 88s, and I moved my infantry up to get within 4 inches of the objective, as did moving the heavy machine guns as well. So it was all about fighting around this objective. So then it was just opening fire, and between the 88s and the Panzer IVs I've taken out another 3 tanks, and I bailed a tank, if I remember rightly, and I decided to go in for assault with this unit, and I won the assault. So you've had to break off, and I captured or destroyed the bailed out tank. So this objective is still under a lot of threat, but I've managed to take off the unit that was sitting on top of it at the moment. But I've lost my marders now, that unit. I've lost my mortars, so it really is about some infantry, and the guns trying to protect what I've got in the middle here.
More T34 for the meat grinder, folks. Turn 5. So for turn 5, so motivations, there was one last stand and it was passed. In terms of movement, everyone just gathered in for the assault, the infantry, 1 platoon, 2 platoons, HQ. In terms of shooting, the mortars didn't have anything to shoot at. The artillery ranged in on 3rd attempt over here. Didn't get any hits, unfortunately, so there's no pin, no nothing. Maybe get them next turn, but that could be a turn too late. In terms of the rest of the shooting, these guys got machine gun to bits. A couple went to the assault as well that subsequently came in, but they got machine gun to bits. And what happened then was infantry assaulted the platoon of 2 guys. Took 4 hits in defensive fire. 1 remaining shot missed. So 1 guy got in, killed the base, and the survivor broke off even with a reroll. So the infantry consolidated in here, and then these tanks here, him joining him, went in against basically what was surviving from these 2 platoons, which was the break off from there plus this lot, and the heavy machine guns. Didn't get any hits, but they broke off. Once again, failing rerolls. You've actually failed every single
The rerolls are,
counter-attack roll.
Yeah.
So it puts them on last stands. They're okay, but pinned. Pin. So they consolidated into there, they've consolidated into there. Brian has to be able to move back into here or kill all the tanks and the infantry next turn. So it's going to be an interesting next turn. Let's clear away the huge amount of red casualty markers and see how it goes.
So in terms of turn 5 for the Germans here, it was basically I wanted to move these 2 to pass the motivations to get up. And
first of all, unpinned.
Yeah.
1 of them unpinned, 1 didn't. The one that didn't unpin ran away.
Ran away because they failed his motivations. So then,
and he unpinned too.
As well. So that was them all, those guys staying on the table. I moved these guys up to get within 4 inches of that objective because I need to be from 4. But it was a case of just opening up with everything I've got, the 88s and all the tanks, to try and get rid of the infantry and the tanks. And there was a lot of shooting went in, a lot of firepowers, a lot of killing, and you've got 1 stand left.
Brian's failed 2 firepowers all game, folks.
My lucky dice is out today, my lucky dice.
Just can't really cope with that. And then the infantry got smashed to bits by these. They got, what was it, 10 hits?
10 hits.
Which was quite good, but maybe expect that. But like the 88's got 4 hits, so that's 4 straight to firepower. And they all passed, you know. They got another 4 hits. Not straight to firepower, but they all failed to save. So next turn, he's got to stay on the table. So we might as well just get a wee dice and roll that. So does he unpin? He doesn't, so that will end it. He stays, but he can't move within. The only thing he could have done was unpin, stay, run up, do a crazy assault, survive that, make them run away. It's maybe not game over because I've got my artillery. I can drop artillery down on them. It's going to take some miracle shooting, but let's start with the mortars.
Oh, miracle shooting.
First Yeah, I've still got hit you though. Right, HQ and the other guy. Right, the HQ's been hit.
Right, come on, save this, Brian, save this, come on.
He's saved. Right, the let me see, my 1-2-2s, they don't hit. Right, and then he might as well take a shot at HQ. Oh, he's out of range actually. He's only got some machine guns. So that's going to be it. So what happened next turn is he might run away, but even if he does,
Well, let's just see if he does. Let's just see.
well, with a reroll he's fine. Even if he did, you still have him within 4. He's not going to survive. I mean, machine guns are going to absolutely murder him, and you're not in danger of breaking. So it definitely is game over. Right, folks, recap time. So the first thing I've got to say in that game is that Brian had 21 hits on my tanks and failed and passed 19 firepowers out of that 21. If he hadn't, I think I probably would have won the game. If I had had a bit more of an average experience, my guys they could easily have been some extra tanks left alive, even at the end of that shooting. Might not have been, but they could have been. I think the luck was very much one-sided in terms of the firepowers in this game. For me, it was all about the assault in here because Brian's motivations were rubbish.
They were very bad. My infantry didn't survive at all.
But it was the best thing for you. If you'd have stayed in the assault, you can't hurt them really. The best thing you could hope for is for me to get a bail and then run away. Most of my assaults, I had my HQ with them. I probably would have stayed in the fight. So I think backing off
was better because it left them exposed to all the gunfire.
It meant you had infantry left to then counter-attack with. And then I was just feeding this into the big meat grinder. If you're going to play this kind of Soviet list, folks, you're going to take casualties, and I don't have a problem with that at all. I just would have liked to have seen Brian huffing and puffing over his firepowers instead of me huffing and puffing over his firepowers. So, Brian, for me, the risk that you took was leaving the infantry to deal with that. Imagine your infantry hadn't have unpinned when they did.
Yeah.
I would have won the game because he was within 4. He managed to kill him. He stayed. It's always a danger when you've got Germans and you're shooting Soviets, you outrange them, you've got a good anti-tank, and you leave your infantry to deal with the enemy's tanks. You really need to have something up for defensive fire, I always feel. It puts your tanks at risk, but at the same time, your tanks are killing my tanks, and my tanks are not assaulting.
I was lucky that
the infantry.
Just the sheer volume, because you see what happened when you hit my infantry, they just died in droves. I was very lucky to keep the single units.
It's really hard to play infantry in mid-war because you don't have Fausts, you don't have Shreks.
Yeah, they run up there and suddenly they've got nothing to hit your tanks with. It was really, really frightening. I think my player in the game's got to be the Marders. They were.
They did 7 before they
and then
hit the dust.
I mean, between them and the 88s, they've taken care of all your tanks.
The 88's almost never missed as well. It's unfortunate because it's straight to firepower.
But yeah, it's a hard list for me to play. I think I do prefer my tank list because it's a bit more survivable and a bit more fun. This was a nervy game, holding on by the skin of my teeth.
You could have been up against a different kind of list there that wasn't hit on a 2, for instance, and your infantry would have been in
real trouble.
Bother. I don't need millions of tanks. The only reason I've got millions of tanks is because they get killed easy. A small number of careful tanks could have dealt with the infantry around there. Infantry are, I don't know. For me, infantry in mid-war is, you play them because you want to play infantry, not because you think they're going to do good. But in the end, you did it, Brian.
It was a really enjoyable game.
Hit kill.
I think in the last couple of games I've gone aggressive, and it really makes a difference.
When you're attacking, yeah.
It makes when you're being aggressive and that, but I just had to keep coming in and having a go at you, keeping these guys and taking the gamble and taking out 3 or 4 of your tanks. It was the gamble well worth it. Yes, they died the next turn, but I've taken enough tanks out to actually start thinning you down. Because I was worried when I seen, was it 20 odd tanks you got coming my way?
19.
19 tanks, well, okay, one less.
But you seen 4 died in the first.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Shooting.
And then, you never seen it on camera, guys, but I think I smiled at that point and kept my smile going when they kept dying so quick.
Oh, yes, just what I can do. They just didn't want to roll a below a 3 for firepower, guys. That's one advantage of the Germans, this kind of German list, is they've got that 3 up firepower. If I was up against maybe Panzer 3s or such likes, or British tanks with anti-tank 4, my guys would have been more survivable because there would have been a few more bales.
Yeah.
But against this German list, when they're hitting those threes, well, it got his ass kicked. But it very nearly did it. Very nearly did it.
Yeah.
But hopefully that was an enjoyable game for you folks. If we'd been able to record the whole thing, you'd have I'd have to have bleeped it a lot. It's Brian's just kept hitting every time and passing the firepowers. So it would have been a great game to watch the whole thing, but hopefully the shorter format's just as enjoyable for you. But thanks for watching, folks, and thanks to all the subscribers out there and to you guys who drop into the channel from time to time to see what we're doing. If you want to support the channel, you hit the subscribe button and the bell button. That means we'll definitely see you all on the next one. Cheers, Brian.
Thanks, Em.
Ah, lucky get.
Not at all.